Hi there and welcome to episode 133 of the ADHD Adults podcast. I'm James Brown, the man who thinks... Did she just shout go?
No.
Don't think
What
so.
did she shout?
Didn't shout.
I think you've imagined that.
I think you imagined it, James.
Yeah.
Are you tired?
Is this a ploy? Is this planned?
I think you said ADHD wrong at the start. Just saying.
What did he say?
Did I?
Did he say
Like
ADHD? Yeah,
Something like
he
that,
always
yeah.
says ADHD.
As I've said before, if anybody wants to take over as host and editor and everything else of this fucking ball ache of a podcast, please feel free. If you can put up with these two, then you've got more patience than I have. I'm the man who thinks a cup of tea is a hot drink with caffeine in. And as usual, I'm joined by Dr. Alex Connor, who doesn't have coffee in the house in case any of his victims wake up. And Mrs ADHD, of course, he fell into Starbucks as a baby and now has a permanent caffeine high, a bit like that massive bloke from Asterix, who carries around a big rock or something.
I don't think Starbucks was around when I was a baby.
For coffee,
I
James?
understand.
You for coffee? For coffee, anybody?
I'm just going to move past that, Alex. I'm going to move past it because I'm already out. You two have already made me angry. Mrs ADHD, hi.
Hi.
Okay, brilliant, short and sweet. How are you both? Mrs ADHD first.
I'm okay today, thank you.
Okay, that's really good. Alex.
It's charismatic as well. That's what I like about it, Sam. I'm excellent, thanks, James. Been looking at the numbers. The metrics guy gets in touch a lot, obviously. We've got a relationship now. Monday's numbers are really high. Fridays are not as high, but too high to cancel. And the extra content we're now doing is an absolute nightmare for metrics, but I don't really know what that means. One of those metrics, faceless metric people, sent us a letter. Can I read it?
You just about saved yourself then, because if you just said one of those metrics sent us a letter, nothing would have happened because nobody makes fucking memes out of what you say. If I'd have said it,
I think it would be appropriate to nominalize a listener as a metric. That would work. It would be a clever metaphor.
Anyway, no, you can't read it out.
That's right, James. Thank you. It's from just checking. It's Robert from Kidderminster. It says I listened to your episode on metabolism. It's ironic that James was a researcher in that area, as he hasn't eaten human food for over 200 years. He goes on to write, James, not because he's a Dracula, because he can't find any plates or cups in his house.
I mean, fair play.
You've had a real letter. I'm really hoping. Can I read out the real letter, James?
No, you can, and you're welcome.
You. It says a time-sensitive question and laughing face because I think they know this was probably written 18 years ago. Hi all. I came to the sudden realization that I had ADHD in March this year, so I'm still in the early days of getting to understand myself. I found your podcast early on and honestly thought you were all pretty annoying. I mean, we are.
We are. Yeah, we are.
It says, I don't like most people, so it's a pretty hard sell to listen to anyone for any length of time. Now, so I love you all like I know you. So if I ever see you at one of those little talks, I might do that weird thing that I've done before with celebrities, and say, hi, like they're my friends, then realize they're off the telly. But anyway, that's a brilliant letter. Celebrities is the most flexible use of that word I've literally heard in my life. But anyway, I came to ask a question to Alex. Yes, really, Alex. Oh, I'm traveling to Bavaria with my family next week. My children are 6 and 3, and it's the first holiday with all 4 of us. I'm pretty sure we're all ADHD. God help us. I've booked what I now realize is a very ADHD holiday where we move accommodation 3 times because I need to see all the things. All my holidays are like that. And I might get bored if I stay anywhere too long and run out of things to do. How did I get to my 40s? Not worked this out before. Well, we all know the answer. So that one, of course, I'm not diagnosed yet. So Alex, I wondered if you have any recommendations, things we need to do in Bavaria, where we can all get some dopamine and manage to spend 2 weeks together without completely losing our minds. Lots of outdoor things. Hope to find some peaceful wildness, it says James. By the way, I'm not stalking you. That's what someone that is stalking me would write.
Yeah.
I planned this holiday when I was in ignorance of ADHD and hadn't heard the podcast. Psst, it says. James and Sam, while Alex is busy writing up some recommendations and he's secretly thinking he does have a fan who wants to stalk him, that's amazing, which will further inflate his balloon head. Can you please let me know where his forest is? We need to make sure we don't drive through it. I need to keep my family so you can't drive through it. Lots of you really have given me some you've given me something to focus on, help me understand what the hell is going on with myself. Thank you for sharing everything so honestly and openly. I'm not sure I'd be without you. Namaste, smiley face, triple X from Laura.
Thank you, amazing. Laura. I put that in as a reward for you for writing the script.
The interim script guy wrote the script. Thank you very much.
Yeah, the interim.
And I didn't read this properly, this letter, and I thought, well, the interim script guy has chosen a letter there that praises Alex. Yeah. I thought that was interesting, but no, it turns out that it wasn't, and it was a lovely letter. Thank you, Laura.
Sam's training me like a puppy with positive reinforcement. Look, if you pull your fucking finger out, look, you get nice things.
I know. On Friday, I've put a lovely question in for you too.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm feeling a lot less stressed now. I'm able to help the script guy. I'm able to help the script guy a bit. I mean, yeah, loads of things. Get in touch on the socials. We'll talk about it. But fry bats are really good.
Well, not our socials. Your private social.
Yeah, private socials.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's just a brilliant place to. There's so much to do. Summer Rodelbarn is brilliant. It's like a roller coaster.
Can you tell her, like, in a private conversation, because I don't want to hear this, and I'm pretty sure 95%, maybe 99% of our listeners don't want to hear about Freibats and Dugaldorf or whatever it was you said.
Internationally, James, great question. we are, checks notes, up by exactly one country to 169 countries.
I'm not having this. I'm not having
69. This. Have you just read the script, James, for the first time?
Yes, I'm not having it. I'm not having it. The interim script guy is fucking has
stitched you up, buddy. It says on the script, everyone, this week's country is almost certainly not Scotland, where the script guy could have chosen Scots or Gaelic, but it's chosen English, regular old English. So it's a hearty, hi Scotland, I love you, to that listener in Aberdeen who put the podcast on because he thought it might get her midges during the warm summer months.
That's a cop out from the interim script guy there.
There is brilliant.
There is
I like the new.
There is an expectation that Alex is put in a difficult position in this part of the podcast, and the interim script guy has failed miserably. Anyway, moving on. I've just seen the next bit. As usual, this person sacking you as the chair of a charity in a merciless coup of a podcast is a tragedy in 3 parts. You utter bastard. I've seen
I enjoy being a chair of a charity, James. All I'm saying is I'm clinging on by my fingernails.
Yes, at all, James. My God.
Well, I normally look at my bits if the script guy doesn't write the script because they're not funny and they're shit and I change them. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to give the interim script guy a chance.
Huge mistake.
He's fucking stitched me up. We choose a theme. Last time was about metabolism, and this week we're talking about something with opinions from everyone. That's ADHD and caffeine. I noticed the interim script guy didn't name several people that asked us to talk about this. So thanks to those several people that asked us to talk about this.
Yeah.
As usual,
no one asked.
The 3 parts include the Barry from Suede of evidence. You fucking Alex, the psycho education monkey.
Hello.
Okay.
Telling us all about the topic, our personal reflections on the theme, and then there's going to be some Gabby Loganing / top tipping / just the tip. You know, parts of it will be okay, I'm sure. So, Alex, tell us all about caffeine then. Another thing I was an expert in for decades.
I will. Thanks for asking. Right. I mean, interestingly, caffeine is a psychoactive drug. And I think why that's interesting is because it's pretty much the only psychoactive drug in the entire world that isn't regulated by like any culture, really. Maybe 1 or 2, but like if you think about any culture you go to, it's like, oh, caffeine, oh, that's fine. But any other drug, some cultures will regulate.
You can't get it in Dracula land. It's banned. It's not allowed.
I've been there. You definitely can. Perhaps not surprisingly, then, it's the most widely used psychoactive drug in the world as well. One estimate suggests that 2 billion cups of coffee are drunk every day. That was from the Washington Post, though, and that's owned by Jeff Bezos, so it might be total nonsense. If you care about this kind of thing, caffeine on its own is a white crystalline powder, and it's if you ate a tablespoon of it, you would die. It's
James is suddenly
lethal.
interested.
I probably wouldn't, but
yeah, you probably wouldn't know. What caffeine does is it acts on a few natural hormones in our body and brain, and probably the key one is that it blocks a hormone called adenosine, and that's one that we use to make us sleepy, amongst other things. So block adenosine with caffeine, and you're less sleepy or more alert, and therefore more able to pay attention and remember stuff. You can probably see where we're going with this. A systematic review and a meta-analysis from 10 years ago found that caffeine use can promote alertness, attention, the ability to switch tasks. And that's most pronounced in the first hour post coffees, and coffees plural in adults, for about 3 hours or so. The issue is that caffeine and blocking adenosine have other knock-on effects in the brain and in the body. So loads goes on when you take caffeine in your body, and it's not all clear whether there's a big effect or a little effect. It's really, really complex biology, and most of our evidence comes from animal experiments. What we know is that there is evidence for increases in dopamine activity connected to caffeine use, probably because adenosine and dopamine sort of compete for the same parts of the brain, the same receptors. So unlike loads of food supplements and loads of the bullshit on Instagram, caffeine is a real thing with real medical effects.
Medical affects, Alex. Is that or medical effects?
Bloody interim script guy's done a typo.
It's terrible, isn't it? For once, the interim script guy got something grammatically incorrect, which I find
You
he needs
cannot
polishing.
see how annoyed I am. I'm genuinely pissed off.
Yes.
I saw James notice something, and I was going to ask, what is it? Because he was like, delighted with himself.
It's a bit.
Like,
It's the bit. No. It was
on.
the. Sorry, it was the bit where he said coffee or coffees in adults, and I thought, what? So children have one, and adults have more than one.
But yeah, no, actually, it's a really good question. It's because to get a medical effect of coffee, children need 1 to 2 cups, and it's like it only lasts for about 3 hours. So in adults, it's probably, and the studies aren't great, but probably more than that. So if you're taking a coffee,
did you explain that fully, or was I just like not listening because it's you?
It's later in the script.
Oh, okay. So obviously, stimulants affect us differently. Is it the same with caffeine?
For ADHD,
okay.
Sam?
Yeah.
Well asked. Thank you for reminding me about ADHD. That's really helpful. See, James, that's how it's done.
Go on.
So it's not different, essentially. Are you serious? Are you serious about that pause?
That was like 1.5 seconds. It was really? 1.5 seconds.
Honestly, I nearly threw up. I thought it was that long. Sorry. Go.
Go. It's not different for ADHD people, not really. Massive caveat klaxon coming. It pretty much does the same thing. Think of those things it does for everyone, like attention and alertness and remembering stuff and a bit more concentration. So in the olden days, when James was 100, caffeine was formally and explicitly used medically, prescribed as a second-line treatment for ADHD. It was an actual treatment. They prescribed it. The evidence for it isn't great, and it definitely doesn't work as well as the current stimulant meds, but it does work better than placebo. So it wasn't just a placebo, it was actual medically working. It might be one of the reasons why more ADHD people report that they use caffeine recreationally more than non-ADHD people. So some people think it's a form of self-medication. The problem with that is that there are also social confounding variables when people take caffeine. So, for example, if you as a society think caffeine isn't great for your health, ADHD people are less likely to follow that advice. So there are reasons other than just having ADHD why people might do that. And in a recent study, they showed that caffeine consumption was not associated with increased ADHD severity, and so wasn't likely to represent self-medication. It's just something we do. What I will say is the studies are weak, though, in both senses. And some scientists still think that caffeine has been mistakenly excluded from ADHD medication lists, and it would be a good thing to do. At the moment, when people are not able to get their meds for supply chain reasons, which you've had, haven't you? Both of you, I think.
Yeah.
Like doing exercise and trying to increase the sleep and having a bit of coffee isn't advice that some medical people have been giving out.
Medical people.
Interestingly, for me, I think it's really interesting for our listeners as well, is that it seems to be especially helpful in the treatment of mild or moderate, even sub-threshold ADHD. This is not advice of what you should be doing. It's just reporting what the medical research is suggesting. I really like this bit because many people believe that caffeine has a different effect on adults with ADHD than on boring normo muggles. I wrote that as a joke and meant to delete it because it's like
the interim script guy wrote that.
The interim script guy wrote that.
Yeah.
So it's been self-reported by loads of us, including me, that caffeine doesn't affect us like it does ordinary people. This famous paradoxical pharmacology, right? So I started looking into it, and the statistical evidence for that is weak. The statistical evidence says it isn't different. But when you look at the statistics for speed, for stimulant medication, that is also weak, actually. And it's more anecdotal than true. So it might be that you've got to dig more into the details to observe that. Because, you talk to ADHD people and they know that speed does not affect us or the stimulant meds does not affect us in the same way that people without ADHD report. What about levels of caffeine, James? See later in the script. Also really hard to dose it. And that's one of the reasons why it's not a great medical treatment at the moment. Because tea, coffee, Red Bull, everything like that, it all differs, doesn't it, in how much caffeine there is in it. So in general, really broad brushstrokes, the older data, because that's when it was done, suggested that 1 to 2 cups of coffee was functionally significant in their children. This was before adult ADHD was a thing, frankly. So it's likely going to be more than 1 or 2 cups for an adult. The problem, again, is there are issues with tolerance and sleep in some people, not everybody, with caffeine. One really great study found that caffeine helped ADHD-like individuals, Sam, with spatial learning, memory problems, attention deficit, compared to non-ADHD individuals. The tiny, tiny additional information you might need from that study, though, is that those individuals were rats. So you're going to have to read into that what you want. Yeah. ADHD rats, Sam.
I noticed
imagine being stuck in a cage if you've got ADHD and you're a rat.
So it doesn't matter what it
Sorry,
says.
James, go on.
It's like being at work
for
most of us.
No.
James, go.
Go.
I noticed how the interim script guy seems to have left me out of most of part 1. And before we do the joke, yes, he loves interrimming. No, you're
interrimming.
Yeah, he's into
You fucked that one up, didn't you?
I'm so happy, Sam.
It's because that was lined up and you fucking spoke over me, and now that's going to be a thing, and we're going to take a break and we'll be back in.
I'm going to write that down. He loves interrimming.
Alex, hi. Aight. What's up? Hello, Governor.
Welcome back to episode 133 of the ADHD Adults, where Alex is talking about ADHD and caffeine. Do you have any personal reflections, Alex, on caffeine?
No.
Fuck off.
Yeah,
it says in the script fucking loads. Go on then.
Oh God, it's well established that I've got the coolest of disorders, alcohol use disorder. So I'm a dry person, which is, as fun as it sounds. But yeah, coffee, I drink at least half a litre before 7 o'clock in the morning every day. And I really, really love it. It's a big part of my life. And tea, 1,000 cups of tea every day. I don't feel any different from it. I just know that I like it, and I think it doesn't affect me in the way other people describe. So it doesn't stop me sleeping, for example. And I've always put that down to the same reasons that I used to, do Coke for crossword-related fun on my own, and why speed helps me sleep, and those. So if the stats are right about paradoxical pharmacology, someone's got to explain my behaviour because I can't. What about you, Sam?
I don't drink tea or coffee. I don't like either of them. I don't really have anything with caffeine in, so I don't
Have you tried
know.
Red
to be
Bull?
honest. I did used to drink Red Bull with vodka, and it gave me the shits. So I didn't
Well,
do that very often.
Yeah, caffeine does. I mean, it's one of the things it does. It increases gut
Ah,
motility.
that was the only thing I noticed. Go on,
So
James.
this is the weird thing about Sam is Sam's lovely parents, Jed and Butte, drink tea like all the time, constantly, tea or coffee, and really pretty much none of the three kids do. Like not much, do you? I mean, and I've always found that odd because normally if you're brought up in a household where the parents drink hot drinks, you drink hot drinks as well, but you don't. And just about the dump thing, I used to work in a video shop. I won't name the person, with a lovely person who could only take a shit in the morning if she went to her mum's house and had a cup of coffee, and then she would take a shit on her mum's toilet. But that's the only way she could poo, is to every morning go to her mum's house. They go to their mum's house and have a cup of coffee.
I think lots of people have a particular.
Yeah, exactly. Anyone going to ask me, or not going to?
Oh shit! Yeah, sorry.
It's not a James heavy episode, really, is it?
I know, but we John ordered that interim script guy. James, you make really about 18 cups of tea a day, but have you ever drank one?
Drink them. Well, yeah, not much. So what I would say is, obviously there is generally more caffeine in coffee than there is tea. There is caffeine in
hugely
tea.
Hugely so.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about coffee and not tea, because I do drink tea, but I know from experience and from my DNA test, I'm a non-responder to caffeine, and there are non-responders. Okay. So there are some people, if you look at their genetic mutations, who generally don't respond to caffeine in the same way as other people do. So it's not my bag, but I'll go further and say it's a shit drink. If you drink coffee, you're statistically more likely to like the band The Flaming Lips. That's been proven scientifically, Alex. Therefore, it's an awful, terrible drink.
That one song they did is amazing, though.
No, nothing they've done is amazing. They're pretentious wankers. Now, a good mate of mine, who's ironically an exercise physiologist, but had been looking at the effect of caffeine on exercise performance, did a really, really clever study where they went round a whole bunch of franchises of the same coffee shop. It's not the green American one. It's the slightly darkened red, I don't know, Italian one, I don't know.
The one that costs about the same?
Yes, cost about the same, yeah. And what they found was, in the same drink, bought in every one of those different coffee shops, there was massive variation in the amount of caffeine. In fact, some had up to 3 times as much caffeine in the same drink as the same drink in another coffee shop. So if you're getting your coffee from coffee shops as your source of caffeine, you can't rely on it to be a reliable dose of a psychoactive substance. And that's all I've got to say, because obviously I'm not allowed to say much this episode. But do you want to play a game?
Exactly it, isn't it? That's why, isn't it, that there's a problem. That's why some researchers think that caffeine's been accidentally excluded, because some people reporting drinking loads of coffee and they're drinking like 14 mgs in coffee compared to 200 in others. So yeah, absolutely.
I'm still stuck on the Flaming Lips thing. Is that true? Just or was that a joke?
They were good.
I'm pretty sure.
Yoshimi battles the robot, the pink robot, something. There's a song called "Do You Realize," which is quite triumphant, I think, and good.
The study suggesting that if you drink coffee, you're more likely statistically to like the Flaming Lips is unlikely to have been performed, Sam. I'm not sure you'd get funding for a study like that, or which journal you'd publish it in, to be honest. So yes, that was it was a joke in rabbit ears, Sam.
Okay,
at the expense of 2 groups: those that drink coffee and those that like the Flaming Lips.
I bet I'd like them. I'm going to look them up after this. I bet I'd like them.
You would, because they're fucking dead arty and wanky. And
anyway, I would love that. Game. Go.
Have some time. Jesus Christ, Alex, we're going to play a game. Obviously, I lost something this week, and because you're getting clever, although we're 15 all roughly this year, I've just made it a bit more difficult. So, the thing that I lost, I did find, but had I put my socks where the phone goes. B, put my phone where the glasses go, as in spectacles. Or C, put my glasses where the socks go.
That's a really good one. He does go on a bit, doesn't he, Sam? Keeps talking and talking.
I don't know. I blend it out.
You have to.
My
zone it,
ears
zone
have
it.
that
It's white
filtering
noise.
device in them.
Yeah, it's anything I say is white noise to Sam. It just, she just doesn't listen.
Oh.
Sorry, what did you say?
I think it's not. You didn't put the socks anywhere because your socks are so crusty they can get there by themselves these days. They're semi-sentient.
I wash his socks very well, thank you.
Yeah, back in 1783, they may have been a bit crusty when I was a teenager, but now, no, they're just normal.
I don't think you put your phone where your glasses go because your glasses go everywhere because you've got 18,000 pairs of glasses. So you put the glasses where the socks go.
Wrong. And I take deep joy considering I'm not really involved in this episode. I put my phone, so the glasses are meant to go. I've got this thing which Sam hates, which is one of those fold over the arm of a sofa with some pockets in the side.
Oh yeah, ugly.
And that's where my glasses are meant to be, because then when I sit down there and I put my phone in there for some reason and then walked away and then spent 20 minutes looking for my phone, even though I could have found it with my watch I'm not wearing now because it's got to find
He's
your
pointing
phone.
to his wrist when there's no watch.
Wrist,
there.
yes. I don't.
He's normally got two on.
I've just realised I've lost my watch.
You normally have two
they might be where the
watches on.
socks go.
Yeah, but one of them stopped
Over your
working, so I
cock.
need to. Anyway, you lost 16-15 to me. It's the first time I've been in the lead this year for ages. We'll take another break, and these two are probably back in part 3, and I'll have nothing to say. See you in a bit, apparently.
Shit game.
Trumpet.
Fucking Jesus Christ.
Welcome back to episode 134. Shit.
No.
33.
No.
Yeah, 33.
33.
I know. Of the ADHD adults, where we are professionally and flawlessly,
Of course.
talking about caffeine. As always in part 3, we're doing top tips on how you can listen to the Flaming Lips whilst you drink your morning coffee. I mean, I don't know how we do top tips, Stu, for caffeine, but we'll do it anyway. James, top tips, caffeine use in ADHD?
People might want to give it. Yeah, some people often do try and.
Yeah, no, and there's good reasons to it.
My boss did actually, and had proper withdrawal symptoms, like
you
the
kind
shakes
of headaches
and everything,
and
like he had the
shakes
flu. Yeah,
But
headaches.
it's
He was
not.
really bad.
The caffeine withdrawal thing is sometimes a bit of a myth, because the shakes you get when you stop drinking caffeine are not always withdrawal. They're often just the effects you get from.
It was the headaches, I think, were worse for him.
Yeah, I'm not explaining this well, but often the jitters people get before a
Never
coffee
do.
is actually, it's a separate thing, and I've completely explained that wrong. So well done, James.
I liked it. It's called the
No, I
central
think
tremor,
he
isn't it?
couldn't drink coffee for a week
Yeah.
for some reason, and he said it was the worst week of his life. He's had a charmed life, obviously. He
Yeah,
hasn't,
that's
I don't know.
amazing.
I don't know if he has. Anyway, I don't have any tips, James.
I actually think this is really interesting for once, and I think the interim script guy, who I'll be honest, I expected this to be a big steaming pile of wank, and
Thank you.
it wasn't. It
Brilliant.
was actually very informative. I mean, it was delivered appallingly. So
Yeah.
2 out of 10 for delivery,
Yeah.
8 out of 10 for what the interim script guy produced. And I think there's a lot in there that I think is interesting. So particularly for those people who are awaiting titration or who are awaiting diagnosis, and there are many, many people that are in both those boats, although the evidence is poor, you can get caffeine plus tablets, for example, which give you a measured dose of caffeine.
Yeah.
Then I this is not medical advice. I'm not telling you to do this, because obviously too much caffeine can have adverse effects, but it might be worth just trying a little bit of caffeine alongside trying to regulate your sleep cycle and trying to get exercise and good hydration and eating the right food, which we know can help kind of abrogate some of the symptoms of ADHD. So if that's you and it can help you, just do it earlier in the day, so it doesn't affect your sleep. So kind of first thing in the morning, a little bit like when people would take their ADHD meds, and see what happens. But that is not medical advice.
But it is okay. The American and the British and the European drug agencies consider caffeine to be safe. And remember, no drug is safe, so it's as safe as it gets, really. I don't think anyone's ever liked caffeine as much as Sam's liked saying the word abrogate over and over for the last few seconds.
And I was I thought, I used to take a caffeine thing when I used to work for Virgin and I'd fly all the way through the night. What was it called? So I started Googling it, but I Googled abrogate because I was saying abrogate repeatedly. But it was Pro Plus I used to take.
So I used to think I was doing it to stay alert, and with hindsight, I might have been self-medicating.
I can't remember what it was like.
I was the same with cocaine, largely. Stay alert for 3 nights on the trial. Yeah.
Somebody. I was at a dinner last night, and they gave me a gin and tonic, alcohol-free. And I said, is it alcohol-free? And they said, yeah, you worried you might have drank one. I said, no, you'd know, because I'd accidentally drink 12 if I drank one.
Do we have any tips for people, or have we done that?
Well, I've just given a quite considered tip about people who are waiting for diagnosis or titration, possibly trying caffeine.
Sorry, I got stuck on abrogate.
Yeah, he did. It was a good tip. Perhaps don't drink if you're pregnant, but the evidence is weak supporting that. But that's the advice.
Or if you're a baby.
Yeah, if you're a baby,
Yeah, don't drink it if you're a baby.
Especially if it's hot,
Yeah.
That little tippy cup, I mean, that could.
You can't even do a ding for that one. Okay, James.
That was episode 133, Alex, not 134. Of the ADHD Adults podcast, where the interim script guy decided we'd talk about ADHD and coffee or caffeine, and actually not a bad call. The metrics guy made it clear we had to use the word coffee to make it more accessible, so we could increase user flow, apparently. If by miracle you enjoyed this episode, why not help us support the charity ADHD Adult UK, from which I ousted Alex's chair this week, on the link provided. Because otherwise, Alex will have to use his head as a mold for Google's round thing, donuts, ? Swedish meatballs, ? I don't know.
Oh, that was like I was reading that.
Yeah. As usual, if you want to get in touch, if you want to suggest episodes, if you want to send us in a letter, if you want to ask us questions for the Thursday/Friday episodes, contact us via the website, where there are forms. That is the ADHDadults.uk, and we will see you next time.
Trigger warning, klaxon, 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 big klaxon. Trigger warning, klaxon, klaxon, klaxon.